If I talk about the feminist-made Duluth Wheel and its countless victims over the years, I get banned and blacklisted. I know, I'm familiar with the leftist, socialist, communist, feminist censorship, which I consider to be as vile and devilish as their Duluth model itself. But I'm Eva Brighton, so heavily shadow banned, it's no use to produce more content. Leftist feminists, you've successfully did me in. But just tonight I heard the news. President Donald J. Trump, who I already admired for the decisions he made in the past, has signed the executive order to protect and uphold the free speech rights of the people. Meaning that social media companies like YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, engaging in censoring of any political conduct will lose their liability shield.
I'll give you a signed copy of what I'm going to be signing in a couple of minutes, and you'll see exactly what we're doing. They've had unchecked power to censor, restrict, edit, shape, hide, alter virtually any form of communication between private citizens or large public audiences. There's no precedent in American history for so small a number of corporations to control so large a sphere of human interaction, and that includes individual people controlling vast amounts of territory, and we can't allow that to happen, especially when they go about doing what they're doing. The choices that Twitter makes when it chooses to suppress, edit, blacklist, shadow, ban are editorial decisions, pure and simple. They're editorial decisions. In those moments, Twitter ceases to be a neutral public platform and they become an editor with a viewpoint. And I think we can say that about others also, whether you're looking at Google, whether you're looking at Facebook, and perhaps others. One egregious example is when they try to silence views that they disagree with by selectively applying a fact check, F-A-C-T, fact check. What they choose to fact check and what they choose to ignore or even promote is nothing more than a political activism group or political activism. The censorship and bias is a threat to freedom itself. To make it that social media companies that engage in censoring or any political conduct will not be able to keep their liability shield. That's a big deal. They have a shield. They can do what they want. They have a shield. They're not going to have that shield.
President Trump has exposed them as the political activism groups, monopolizing the airwaves by censoring and silencing, deleting, suppressing, editing, blacklisting, and shadow banning. This heavy online censorship on basic human rights has been lifted tonight. The days of online discrimination against the truth have ended thanks to President Trump. If I want to inform the public that men are being destroyed in family court, no YouTube, Facebook, Instagram or Twitter will censor me. The days of Clementine Ford's promoting her kill all men, or what was her latest one-liner? COVID-19 isn't killing men fast enough? And that's the norm, that's policy. Any other voice will be removed and destroyed. But these days are over. For now. At least for 4 more years. Hopefully. And it feels like we've been liberated after a war or cured from a terrible disease. A social media disease. The curse of the democratic, socialist, leftist, feminists has been lifted by President Trump, and President Trump only. No other president would have done what he did, and he has done so much without us, the public, even having the slightest idea. Because there they were, the socialists, the Dems, the feminists. They had the power to destroy entire households. All money to be given to the woman. Millions of men ruined, sabotaged, wasted or dead. And nobody said one word. No, mainstream media was busy fueling the man-hating, Trump-bashing. It's incredible. And I can barely find the words to express what this act means. Not to me, but to hundreds and thousands of men around the world who've been brutally silenced. As if we were living in communist China. Not only online, but everywhere. because internet got so immensely powerful, and with it the biased general opinion. So that you have to be careful with what you say. If you say the wrong thing, whether it's about family law or President Trump, you're cast out. Drop of a hat. This is what the over-the-top funded organizations have done to us. Done to families, men, women and children. And as from today, their devilish game is up. At least online. Everybody should be well aware this freedom only lasts for 4 more years if we're lucky. 4 more years we have the chance to collectively reverse things together with President Trump. What about family law? What about the ridiculously funded feminist movement demanding the most absurd travesties? What about our children? Are we going to let them be conditioned by drag queens because of these women with their ludicrous ideas? Are we going to let these dangerous people destroy our families any longer? Our men being destroyed? Or are we going to take these matters to the man who has proven time and time again that he has had it with this crooked agenda? Or are you so infested by these devils over the years that you would still vote for a feminist? 4 more years to stop this insanity, and only 4 more years to get as much restored as possible. President Donald Trump isn't a feminist. He has reversed a lot of things, and he can reverse a lot more in 4 more years. This act is unprecedented. It's unheard of. It's also unprecedented that a president is forced to use Twitter to bypass mainstream media, as indeed mainstream media comprises of leftist, socialist, feminists, biased reporters, distorting the truth. It's fake news. Now, if even the most powerful man of the USA has to report the actual news by himself, who do you think will ever report about men's issues? CNN? ABC News? It's feminist media. If they do it, it will merely be to do what feminists always do, and that's to smear a man's reputation. Men's rights are smeared and then silenced. The total radio silence they fake about men's issues makes it look as if no one cares about men's issues. This is Nazi-like propaganda in the purest form. Trump's actual achievements are not and will not be reported on mainstream media. Nor will mainstream media ever report on men's issues. That's why online social media platforms have become even more important than mainstream media. Just read any online article and you'll be exclusively reading lies. Lies about Trump, lies about feminism, articles about women's issues, pro-feminism, and more on feminism, more on women's issues, and more on feminism. The general public will think the most important thing which is keeping the world busy, the most trending topics, are feminist related. The general opinion will be that nobody is even remotely interested in men's issues. Take A Voice for Men. They had over 50,000 followers and were deleted after years of being shadow banned. Out of the blue and without a quarter. This is how social media literally killed the biggest online men's rights platform, making it not only look like nobody cares, but also breaking the spirit and stamina of both the makers as well as the followers, so people will never take men's issues seriously. That's what they want, that's what they were hoping to achieve, and the feminist online doctrine has been immensely successful. But in the meantime, A Voice for Men is the biggest men's rights organization of the planet. So what's left is a successful executed feminist lie. And people will believe it. Even the men's rights followers will eventually start to believe it. If you look on the men's rights group, you see 3 posts and several reactions. The discouraging effect of this kind of psychological propaganda is immensely effective. And to add insult to injury, the men's rights groups that still exist are mostly run by women, read feminists. And men even have to tread carefully in their own feminist-controlled environment, converting men's rights into LGBTQ rights. When questioned, you as a man will be removed by the moderator, the woman without quarter. Trump had to do this to prevent sabotaging the elections, and he will leave us with his legacy, which is as much freedom and true democracy being restored, and as much as the filth being disposed. And as much as it makes me happy, it saddens me to see how we went to this absolute low. Censored, silenced for years, and even locked down. And if feminists would have had it their way, locked up, meaning you, the men, under COVID rules. Because domestic violence allegedly increased during lockdown. It's just not true. Another one of the zillion lies being fed to us by this propaganda machine, which was halted as swiftly as the funding for the WHO was halted. In Spain, the head of the police had to hold a national press conference to dismantle this domestic violence lockdown lie, because feminist organizations were demanding that men should be removed from the household during lockdown.
Se está detectando a través de las redes sociales cómo algunas personas pretenden alarmar sobre supuestos incrementos en el número de delitos cometidos en relación a la violencia de género o doméstica. Esa información es falsa. En los 10 primeros días en los que ha estado vigente el estado de alarma, los datos de violencia de género y doméstica se han reducido considerablemente en comparación con el mismo periodo del año pasado.
This is what saddens me the most. This sheer insanity we have to deal with and even grow accustomed to. Mind you, this is about men's issues being shadow banned by feminists, vegetable blending, proud to be sluts, tree hugging, menstrual blood glorifying, mentally unstable lunatics who got the job being positively discriminated at a social media platform because the new female CEO wanted to hire more women who monetize the most man-hating castration day proposing videos while promoting the Facebook groups where women gather to exchange tips on how to destroy a man, while meticulously going over all that's man-friendly and without quota make their accounts disappear. And the reason we know about it is only because a law which silences these people or make them disappear themselves doesn't exist as of yet. And it won't take more than one feminist president and her all-female staff to take things to apocalyptic proportions. Because after these 4 years, socialists and feminists will immediately reverse everything and there will be no one to stop this insanity. MGTOW already deemed it the end of civilization and a throwback to the Dark Ages the moment women start governing. And we are watching the build-up to a matriarchy. And then, as if it's divine intervention, there is President Donald Trump ruining their perfectly rolled out agenda, sabotaging it and demolishing it, without most of us even being slightly aware of it, because of the mainstream media. And we need President Trump to take down mainstream media as well. What did they cover? Endless whining about the pay gap, feminism, LGBTQ rights, or how men were butchered by the system. No. He will be the only one who will try to take it down and replace it with an unbiased system. What saddens me is for a moment there, we collectively saw a glimpse of how today's society ought to be, where there's no feminist witch hunt on men, where there's children, there's education instead of indoctrination, where there's viruses, there's a cure, instead of the collective fear for vaccines, where an outbreak is contained instead of spread. In other words, where society belongs to us, not to them. And above all, it's a free society. This online freedom President Trump has returned to us, for free, for the sake of utter goodness. This is an immense change. I know that a lot of people will say that Donald Trump only did this to protect himself. But even if this were true, this bill is still legislated. And this still means that online shadow banning and censoring is not legal anymore. And this is what the men's rights movement needs. But let's all use these 4 more years to the fullest. Now we've seen President Trump gave us back our online freedom. Because I think this means He will continue to give us back freedom. And yes, his freedom is our freedom, as I believe that he is an outsider. He doesn't belong to this corrupt system, the system which took away your freedom, your children, your money, and he's fighting it. And we have tasted where we would have been under a feminist president. Just look at the amazing power of these organizations, what they still could achieve in the rollout of the Obama era. The most draconian laws were legislated. Men virtually have no rights left, while the immensely funded machinery of feminism marches on, demanding an equality which best can be described as total power and control. That's where we are now. And you got a Kenyan guy to thank for it. So imagine where we will be, what will happen in 2024 if a feminist like AOC will be elected, or an Ilhan Omar. Just try to imagine just look at my first extremely shadow banned video, multiply this by 50 and you'll get a general idea. So thank you, Mr. President, for giving us back our sovereignty and freedom. And I'm not even an American citizen. But wherever America goes the rest of Western civilization. So this is important for us all. Just a few days after uploading my very first video, Are Almost All Women Mentally Insane?, I got shadow banned. No one had complained, no feminist had reported the video. They just shadow banned the video to prevent it from going viral. People have been punished by sharing my video with a ban. And we were getting used to it. Punished! As if the devil himself played God online. As if we were already in communist China. But when I uploaded the trailer of my upcoming feature documentary called Avoid, unlisted, not public, they shadow banned my channel completely. Would I have been a man, I surely would have been deleted. But I'm a woman and I have this pass. They just keep me on a little leash. And for what? For informing people about family law? The injustice done to men? Yes, that's one of the most illegal things to do, according to their leftist political agenda. All men are rapists? No problem. Castration law? Perfectly fine. Men's issues? Shadow ban. So they had me tied up and eventually locked down. They got me cornered, made invisible, and now dumped into YouTube's oblivion. Like tens of thousands of others who speak out, along with all the men and men's rights. No man exaggerated when he said his life was destroyed. You cease to exist. You wither and die. Just because a feminist governed system dictates you're over and done. Had we have a female feminist president, God knows where we would have been in 2020. The plan was to have a feminist president in 2016. But then, against all odds, on came President Donald Trump. Amidst the uproar and upheaval of Me Too and female empowerment, feminist governed countries, holding us tight and steering us through what could have been the worst of times. And we have seen how it quickly became the worst of times. But once again, President Trump kept his promise because I saw him legislating the social media executive order to become effective immediately. Do you know what this means for the discriminated minorities? And I'm talking about the alienated fathers, the men, the children. I'm talking about every individual who addressed something which was censored under this totalitarian online state, under the powers of leftist socialism and feminism. What are you going to do now, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook? Shadow ban me? Remove my views? My subscribers? You can't. You're not allowed. It's over with the online communist doctrine. You nearly did us in. What you have done is a terrible thing, a crime to humanity. Because if more people would have heard what many people are speaking out about, more people would have been able to do something about it. Ban the discussion of men's issues in a feminist governed world. It's a crime to humanity. But President Trump is watching. And he kept his promise. So what will be my next video? My next video will be the official trailer of my documentary Avoid. That's right, Susan, Mark, and Jack. And I'll be addressing feminism. And whatever comes floating to the surface of this cesspool, I'll address it. Female whistleblowers will speak. And since I already filmed part of the documentary, I can already tell many blue-dyed, unshaved, menstrual blood painting women won't be viewing this with a particularly huge smile on their faces. Here's your new way of life. You better get used to it, because if I don't see my account de-shadowbanned, we all know how this is going to end.